This is my first time in Seattle.
Welcome.
So far, your airport and your hotel are amazing. That's pretty much all I know. But I'm assuming that everybody knows who I am.
I do.
Probably wouldn't be here. Although I never like to make that assumption. So I remember a few years back, right after Futurama had come back from the dead, we were doing a panel at where the convention was. But there was a guy sitting in the front row, and basically the point of the panel was, hey, we're back! We're making more Futurama, and everyone's excited. And this guy raised his hand, halfway through the panel, asked the question, why don't you guys make more episodes? And he was like, we are. We've just been picked up by Conversation to make new episodes. Okay. Like, why are you in the front row? You don't know that. And he was in costume. And granted, this is the same person who later on came to where we were signing, and they had an announcement going on over this.
Ladies and gentlemen, William Shatner will be signing from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m.
He's like, who? I was like, okay, you are in costume at a comic book convention. Even if you're not a Star Trek fan, you have to at least recognize the name William Shatner. Well, I'm like, okay, let's just get a baseline for your level of knowledge. Does the name Jesus Christ? Yeah, of course. Like, okay, good. All right, we'll start there. I guess I don't really have an opening statement or to sell. So maybe I'll just open the floor up to questions, and let's see if we can fill an hour like that. Well, there's a mic in the middle there. So that way, everybody can hear your question, or do you just want to just shout through your beard?
What got you into voice acting?
That is a question I refuse to answer. It's actually a complicated question, because my very first voice acting job was my very first professional job. When I was in high school, a friend of my mother's worked for NBC, and they were using real kids for kids' voices on a cartoon, which is rarely done. But this was a really bad cartoon, so it was the Mr. T cartoon. And she knew I did plays and stuff, so she got me an audition, and I wound up getting hired to play Woody, one of a team of young gymnasts, a gymnastics team coached by Mr. T that traveled around the country competing and solving mysteries. And it was not good. Because like the Hanna-Barbera animation was like, considered like so cheap. This was done by the company under Hanna-Barbera.
So many stereotypes in one show.
It was just not good. I'm sure that somewhere there was a meeting. It's like, well, Mr. T's got a cereal. He really should have a cartoon. Why not? What should we rip off? Should we put him with a flying squirrel? No, let's put him in a bus and make him solve mysteries. But the dog won't talk. Yeah, that'll give it an edge. But I really started doing voiceover when I was on Mad TV.
Yeah.
Because it was we are so wildly conditioned. Say the name of something I like! Yes, I like it! Hey, puppies are great. Yes. Fame without substance, enthusiasm without meaning. Yes! Make that a t-shirt. On on Matt TV, some of you probably know, we did these claymation pieces created by a guy named Corky Quakenbush. The first one was a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Rankin Bass meets Goodfellas. So it was just like ultra-violent claymation reindeer. And they had the cast do all the voices for those animated pieces. And that's where I really first got experience doing good voiceover.
Were you Rudolph?
I was not. Deborah Wilson was Rudolph. Because, you know, it's a little boy voice. Got it real good. I think I was the Yukon Cornelius character. It's a very long time ago. And then after a few seasons on Nat TV, the women who cast Nat TV also were the same people who cast Futurama. And I think, they brought in myself and David Herman, and actually, I got Family Guy out of Nat TV as well. There was, at one point, they were going to have Seth MacFarlane do an interstitial animated thing to go in between Nat TV, the way that The Simpsons had done for the Tracy Ullman show. So one of the Fox executives asked Alex Corsi, and I said, would you do us a favor? There's this kid, he's got this cartoon. Could you guys do a couple voices for a presentation that we're going to get to the network? And then $200 million later. Yeah, it's funny because, Alex went on and did she actually wrote for me, became a producer on the show. And I come in and say one line. It's raining sideways! It's literally the shortest work day in America. I'll come in and I'll say something, And here's all the lucky weather forecast. It's gonna rain! So, great. Give me one more. A little angrier. It's gonna rain! Oh, great. Okay. And now I talked long enough. I probably answered the question. Another question.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking about the Justice League Static Shock crossover episode.
Which one? The one on Static Shock in real time, or the one on Justice League in the future?
That's a good question. But let's just go with Static Shock.
Oh, you were so not a geek. I'm just into because I watched the Green Lantern movie and Ryan Reynolds is hot.
I was wondering, what is it like voicing something like where you're talking to yourself, and how many voices have you done for a single episode? Like, what's the most you've ever done?
Well, usually you'll find most people do 3 voices in any given episode, just because they get 3 voices for the same amount of money. So they usually want to get their money's worth. But as far as major characters, there were probably some Justice League Unlimited episodes where I wound up doing more than that. Just because after a while the characters start to stack up, and then it's like, well, you do, Green Lantern, and you do Steel, and you do Stripesy, and then we wrote this one episode where they're all around. All right, well, I'll do all of them. But no, it's always a challenge. Although for me the bar is really high, because I just remember being in the recording session for the very first episode of Futurama, and there's a scene where the professor brings Fry in and introduces him to Dr. Zoidberg. And this is Billy West doing all of the voices of these 3 characters. 3 incredibly distinct voices. Like, they don't even sound like they're the same species, much less the same being. And he did it all on the fly, like 3 guys talking to each other from 3 different perspectives, all at once. And it was just like... And so, after watching him do that, and when you watch that episode, there's no way you can tell it's one person doing it. So So that's sort of like where the bar is for me. Like someday I'm going to try to get to where Billy is. The closest I think I've come was there was the future Justice League episode where there was older Static and John Stewart. And I mean, it was sort of a challenge when when Green Lantern came and guested on Static, but the voices are far enough apart. You know, it's like,
You're gonna be quite a handful when you finally join the league.
Wait a minute, did you say when I joined the league?
you know, so they're far enough apart. But then they said, oh, and Static is 50, and he's talking to John Stewart. So it's like, okay, well, he's 14. That's easy. But now, okay, so
I've got to figure out what this guy sounds like when he's 50.
and make sure it doesn't sound like John Stewart. So I'm like, okay, well, some people get older and their voices doesn't necessarily become deep.
You know, maybe he's just one of these people. You know, this is his voice when he's 14. Then he grows up, gets older, and his voice becomes, you know, not a deep voice, but it's a man's voice. You know, and then as he gets older, there's a little more texture to it, and he becomes, you know, an older man, but the same person with the same voice. And, you know, arguably the most powerful hero of his era.
But it's definitely not this guy.
This is a super fanboy question, but do you have a character that you found resonated with you the most, or you had the most fun working on? Or my most memorable character I remember looking up and trying to do the voice was possibly Will.
I'm sorry, I don't really have, I mean, just one. It's so nice.
You know, it's difficult to say. I think if I were able to do all of the characters or all of the shows like at the same time in 1 week or something, you know, but they all came at different times in my life, in my career, and they were all very different experiences. I mean, you know, Samurai Jack, I was the lead of a really amazing show.
Yeah.
But normally I did not have much to say.
You know, there would be a guest star, you know, DiMaggio or somebody come in and, you know, have 4 pages of exposition. Oh, this mountain, there is a tower, and the tower is a gem that can take you back in time.
I will retrieve it.
Now, obviously, with Justice League, it was much more dialogue heavy. I got to do more character-wise. I mean, I got to be on trial for murder, have a love triangle with, you know, my girlfriend's secret boyfriend who's trying to take over the world. I mean, you know, how often do you get to play that? And again, the show was really amazing. But Foster's, I got to work with, you know, an amazing group of people. You know, Craig McCracken, Lauren Faust, Grey DeLisle, Tom Kenny, Candy Milo, and, you know. And every time we go in there, it was, you know, like going to the playground. So each of the jobs and each of the characters was a different experience and gave me something else. It's almost impossible to sorry. Yes.
I love your character, the UBS guy on Mad TV.
Yeah.
And I wonder, did you create that character, and have you met someone like him that inspired you